Major cities in Iraq falling under the control of Al-Qaeda. And was this predictable? What can be done about it, if anything, at this point? KT McFarland joins us next.
This is an unbelievable story. At least two major cities in Iraq are back under the control of Al-Qaeda. That is videotape from over the weekend. Anbar province. Remember Anbar province, west of Baghdad, long border with Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, encompasses the whole western section and desert of west of Baghdad here in the western part of Iraq. The major towns, Ramadi and Fallujah, both of those towns have now fallen to Al-Qaeda fighters. Remember Fallujah, the sacrifice the American Marines made in that town after such a bloody battle. KT McFarland was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for President Reagan, now a Fox News national security analyst. And KT, how are you? And good morning.
Good morning. Sad morning.
Wow. What do we do now?
I think it breaks our hearts. You know, we now realize that Bush and Obama made crucial mistakes. You know, we probably shouldn't have gone in. Once we got in, didn't find weapons of mass destruction, we shouldn't have nation built. But then once we broke it, we fixed it. We fixed it with the surge, and then Obama pulled out instead of leaving a residual force that might have kept the peace long enough for Iraq to stand on its own. He pulled out. And now what I think we're facing is probably 30 years of Shiite-Sunni violence and a civil war that's going to go from Syria to Iraq to Lebanon and engulf the entire region.
In that sense, you see and you sense, and you wrote about this at foxnews.com, a power vacuum.
We've left.
Who's filling it?
Everybody's scrambling to fill it. That's the problem. Is we are now leaving the Middle East. We have left Iraq. We're going to leave Afghanistan. We're going to cut a deal with Iran to essentially make them alpha dog of the Middle East. But other countries are all going to scramble to fight it to the finish. You'll have the Israelis are in the middle of it. The Sunnis, the Sunni Arab oil states, Saudi Arabia and others, they're not going to let Iran be alpha dog of the Middle East. So nobody knows where it goes, but it probably doesn't go anyplace good, because you have two sides, two tribes, really, that have been fighting each other for millennia. They've got enough money from their Arab oil money to keep fighting, and a fight to the finish. You know, Bill, the more I think about the Middle East, I think, you know, we in the West look at things so differently. We think war is something that happens when peace fails. And we think of a war as something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and when it's over, everybody lays down their arms and starts picking up life again. In the Middle East, they don't think that way. Wow. They think it's constant war. If they lose a war, they think peace is the time where they go back, regroup to fight again.
If you are right in that we're looking at 3 decades of war, that's on top of the decade of war that we spent there as well. Here is John Kerry in Jerusalem when asked about whether or not this administration will go back in, essentially. Secretary Kerry.
This is a fight that belongs to the Iraqis. That is exactly what the president and the world decided some time ago when we left Iraq. So we are not obviously contemplating returning. We're not contemplating putting boots on the ground.
All right, there you have it. Is that the right call?
I think it's the only call. The American people, as you said, we've had 10 years of war. It doesn't seem to have made a big difference in the Middle East. We're not going to send boots on the ground. Now, there are things we can do to help. We can give them, you know, intelligence. We can give them military equipment, but it's their fight to fight. And my big takeaway from this is, if we are leaving the region, where are we going to get our energy? Because one of the reasons we're in the region in the first place is because that's the source of the world's energy, not only American oil, natural gas, but the world's. And so with the United States, I think it is incumbent on us now to develop our own abundant energy resources.
And to that point, look how successful fracking has been in America. It's still controversial for some, but enormously successful.
And it's going to be the biggest strategic game changer since we won World War II. It's going to not only bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States, it's going to have energy jobs as people create the energy itself, and finally, it's going to allow us to have independence for our energy resources.
Yeah, and it's only done because of American technology, too.
Absolutely.
Back to this idea that you made a very interesting statement, that we believe wars are just a beginning, and they do not. Peace for them, you believe, is a breathing space between wars.
Look at Afghanistan, for example. We went in, toppled the Taliban, got rid of Al-Qaeda. We thought it was done. We stuck around a nation build. What did the Taliban and Al-Qaeda do? They ran across the Tora Bora Mountains into Pakistan, lay low, regrouped, came back to fight again. The same thing happened in Iraq. We went in, toppled Saddam Hussein, helped Iraq build a democracy. What happened to the people we were fighting, the old Saddam Hussein guys? They bled into the woodwork, had their weapons, created an insurgency to come
knew
back
where to hide and how long to hide for it. But President Obama left Iraq. Had we stayed at least a fighting force, would Fallujah and would Ramadi now be run by Al-Qaeda?
I think it would have been a very different outcome, because we would have had troops there. We would have given the breathing space for the leadership of Iraq to fend off Iranian influence, to fend off Sunni Arab influence. I think that it would have been a different outcome, and it certainly would have given Iraq a chance. But this is like taking the training wheels off the bike and a 3-year-old's trying to ride a 2-wheeler. It's just not going to happen.
KT McFarland, thank you. We're going to talk more about this throughout the
you
week,
bet.
because it is a development that has stunned a lot of people. Many people predicted it, I think yourself included. KT McFarland, thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, Martha.